Hello, class. I wanted to share with you some information about matter, solids and liquids and gases, and how you understand the difference between these three things. Matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. In other words, matter equals mass plus volume. Matter is anything on Earth or any other planet that has solid, liquid, or gas. Mass is the amount of matter that an object has, and you can measure mass with a balanced scale. Now, a volume is how much area matter takes up. For instance, if you see on this slide that there's water in this tube, that is 150 milliliters. If you put this rock in the water, and they did right here, kind of behind my picture, it displaced the water up to 180 milliliters. So the difference is 180 minus 150 is 30 milliliters. So this rock has a volume of 30 milliliters. Okay, an atom is the tiniest building block of matter. Atoms are so small you cannot even see them with a classroom microscope. Solids. Solids are all around us, and we know that because solids have a certain shape and a certain size. They are not compressible. You cannot squeeze them to make them smaller solids, and they do not take the shape of their container. If you put a solid in a container, it'll still look like the same solid. There are hundreds of solids in this classroom. The melting point is the point at which a solid turns into a liquid. Water turns into ice turns into liquid water at 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Even solid rocks can melt when enough heat is added, and that becomes lava. Now, we have liquids. Liquids, of course, take the shape of their container. You cannot compress them to make them smaller, and the molecules inside of a liquid are more active and flow freely than in a solid. If you add heat to a liquid, it becomes evaporation. It becomes a gas. Evaporation is when a liquid changes into a gas. Heat helps this process. This is, as you see, a picture of or illustration of water evaporating off of a leaf. Gas is a matter that does not have a shape or volume of its own. It is compressible. You can press air into a bicycle tire or a basketball, and gas fills the entire container. Everything that is not liquid or solid that you see is some kind of gas. Now, condensation. If you took the heat out of gas, it would have condensation. Condensation is when things are cooled, they condense. That means they shrink. And so up here, you see liquid on the outside of a bottle. This liquid is condensed moisture from the air, and it got cool, and it's on the outside of the bottle. This is actually moisture from the air on the outside of the bottle. You can see the dew on the grass that has condensed water vapor into liquid again, and clouds are just condensated liquid vapor. So the water vapor is warm, it is invisible near the ground, and it goes up and it cools, and now you can see the water vapor. If you keep removing the heat from or cooling down liquids, they freeze. And at the point that they freeze, that temperature point is called the freezing point. So when water freezes, it freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, and or if you use the Fahrenheit thermometer, you would say water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, these are the same numbers as your melting point. So your melting point and your freezing point are the same numbers on the thermometer. Okay, let's talk about things. So we know when things change, there can be a physical change or a chemical change. This slide is all about a physical change. A physical change is when something changes its characteristics of matter. It might change in size or shape or state of matter. This change is reversible. Behind me, you can't see, but this is ice cream melting and then reforming. So when you add heat and remove heat, the ice cream itself stays ice cream. It may be a liquid form or maybe a frozen form, but it's still ice cream. This tube man you might see in front of a car car lot that sells used cars or somewhere outside of a business, it changes shape, but it's still the same structure, still the same material. This boy, he's changing the shape of his body by dancing and moving around, but he's still a human body. A chemical change is something that you can't change back. So a chemical change happens when one substance changes into another substance, and the change is not reversible. This fresh slice of bread has been toasted. As you can see, it has changed color, it has changed smell, it has changed texture, and you cannot change the toast back into fresh bread. Other characteristics of a chemical change are baking, rusting, a color is changing, like the color on the bread, heat is produced, light is produced, and maybe have a new smell, like the smell of toast, or maybe has fumes or fizzies. Um, when something is rapidly in a chemical change, it may produce a fire, and fire is the reaction that you see of a chemical change. So we've visited the three states of matter: solids, liquids, and gases. And as you can see in this last slide, that a solid is tightly packed molecules. Liquid, you add heat to the solid and the molecules separate, and they're loosely packed, but they still take the bottom shape of their container. And the gases are free flowing. They add heat to them and they free flow and they take the entire um, volume of the container. Now, if you subtract the heat, you go from a gas to a liquid down to a solid again. All right, that is it. I hope you enjoy learning about matter.